This is the messiest removal of paper from one of these I've ever had. So I'm glad you guys got it on camera. I'm gonna show you how to make a cheesecake filling. It's pretty versatile. And I'm gonna show you how to put it between 2 layers of pastry. I'm gonna use store-bought crescent roll dough to make a really decadent breakfast pastry that hits all the cheesecake sweet spots without taking nearly as much time. We're gonna start by making the filling first. I'm going to add to my stand mixer 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese that are at room temperature. I've let them sit out for about an hour. 1/4 cup of sour cream. And before I add the sugar, I want to cream these together until they're nice and smooth and homogeneous. Now that these are well combined, I'm going to scrape down the sides of the bowl and add 1 cup of sugar. And then I'm gonna beat this mixture on medium-high for about 3 minutes. You'll notice that as the sugar dissolves into this mixture, while it's beating, it'll allow the mixture to become really fluffy and light. And that's exactly what we want. Okay, I'm gonna start by incorporating it on low. Once the sugar's incorporated, I'm gonna kick the speed up to medium-high and let it beat for 3 minutes. After your 3 minutes have passed, scrape down the sides of the bowl, and now we're gonna add the ingredient that makes the center of a cheesecake fluffy, which is eggs. So I'm gonna add each egg 1 at a time, waiting until the first is fully incorporated before adding the second, and then allowing those to beat in again to build up volume and become light and airy. Okay, now that it's fully smooth, I'm going to add the flavorings. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract is pretty customary, but then the next ingredient is one of the staples of cheesecake. Any good cheesecake is gonna have lemon juice in it because the tartness of the lemon juice just makes the tanginess of the cream cheese more prominent as you're eating the cheesecake. And then 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, I'm just gonna mix these to combine. And then this last ingredient is the secret to making a cheesecake filling that bakes quickly. This is 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Usually, a tablespoon or 2 of all-purpose flour are thrown into a cheesecake filling. By adding more, you're encouraging the filling to set more quickly so that we don't have to bake it for an hour and a half in a water bath. I'm gonna combine until there are no pockets of flour remaining in my mixture, and then we're ready to assemble the pastry. All right, now I'm gonna set my filling aside to now work with the dough. So I have 2 cans of crescent roll dough. They actually sell crescent dough sheets that don't have the perforated dots to make the triangles, but you can use the ones with the dots and it'll be just fine. I'm using the dough sheets so there aren't any of those cuts already made in the dough, and I'm gonna roll it out onto my floured surface to fit it into my greased 9x13 rectangular pan. As the recipe suggests, if you get the crescent roll dough that's already perforated into those triangles can actually be helpful guides for cutting the perfect triangles of pastry after it's done baking. But if you use these sheets, you can honestly cut the finished pastry into any shape you want. Squares, rectangles, triangles, whatever suits you. All right, I have the dough here. I'm gonna take some flour and lightly flour my surface. And lightly flour the dough. And I'm gonna roll it out to about 9x13. As this pastry bakes, it's gonna get all those flaky layers, both on the bottom of the pastry and on the top of the pastry. And then in between those buttery, flaky layers is gonna be this thick section of cheesecake. It's delicious. Take your dough, you can just fit it in. All right, my first layer of dough is fitted into my pan, and now I'm going to take my cheesecake filling, and I'm carefully gonna pour it on top. It's important that you grease the pan before you do this, because if you don't, then the cheesecake filling is gonna wanna stick to the sides of the pan as it bakes. But by greasing it, you make sure that as the filling puffs and sets, it will come smoothly off of the side of your baking dish. All right, now that this is spread over the first layer of pastry, I'm gonna take my second roll and do the same thing and lay it right on top of the cheesecake filling. In addition to the flour being added to the filling that helps it set quickly, by having a layer of pastry on top, you're also protecting the cheesecake filling from burning in the oven. So a layer of pastry on bottom and on top is essential to make this 30-minute bake cheesecake. If you want to get the top layer precisely right, you can always set the baking dish on top of the dough and then cut around the edge of the baking dish to make sure that the rectangle that goes on top is the perfect size. Okay, and I'm very gently gonna lay this on top of the cheesecake filling. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and so I'm gonna pop this in there until the pastry is nice and golden brown and the filling has set, which will be about 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes, so I'm ready to take it out. And there we are. I probably could have pressed out the dough top a little further so it would have gone to the edges, but it'll be fine. I'm now gonna let this sit and cool completely. You don't have to pop it in the fridge like you would a normal cheesecake. You could just need it to come to room temperature so that it slices cleanly. Once it's come to room temp, I'm gonna dust it with powdered sugar, slice it, and give it a try. And now I will cut myself a square. A lot simpler than your regular old cheesecake. This filling will get you pretty far, a lot faster. I'm Michael Liao with Southern Living, and that's today's Tip from the Test Kitchen.